Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Glorious Estates. And we just figured we'd have a really kind of a laid-back evening with you, and we wanted to go through a tutorial on something that is personally one of my favorite things about the whole jewelry coin industry is silver coin, more specifically silver bullion. And the reason why they make such a distinction there is a primary difference between silver bullion, which is simply mainly the value of the silver, versus a numismatic coin. And we'll get into that a little bit later on. But for now, I just wanted to kind of generally run through these, see what we've got, and see what, when you talk to us and you're looking to buy or sell any silver coins, what we're looking for, what's most important, and some of the numbers and some of the information that, more importantly, you need to know if you're going to buy or sell silver from not just us, but anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country. Now, one of the main things that you really need to focus on when you're dealing with any kind of silver coins is the purity, right? Now, there's going to be multiple different levels of purity. You're going to see all different kinds of purity when dealing with coins, all the way from a super fine, which is a 0.9999949 silver coin, all the way down to a 40% coin. And yes, there are quite a few of those out there, and that's one of the fun things that you can look for, even as common as your local bank or convenience store. Trust me, I've found them there. But let's start with the simple, easiest, and mainly most common coins that you're going to see, that we're going to see come across the jewelry counter on almost a daily, if not weekly or monthly basis. So that's going to be your Bullion 0.999 pure 1 ounce coin. Now, there's going to be two primary types of these. Your first one is going to be a state or basically a national brand. So there are many, many countries in the world that produce their own silver coin, not necessarily for use as currency, but more for the government in and of itself and sell to the public. So you're going to come across in America, the most common one is going to be your Silver Eagle. Now this one here is a 1 ounce. It also has a face dollar of $1, which means, yes, if you walk this into a bank and say, I want to put this in my bank account, they will give you $1 for this. Please, please, please do not do that. Today, this coin, as of today's filming, is slightly more than $27, and that's simply the value of the silver in and of itself. Now, when it comes to certain silver coins, there is a premium that you're going to have to pay if you're buying, and sometimes, even if you're selling them, you're going to acquire more than the value of silver. It depends simply on the market. There are many times when silver to different trading houses will bring more than what the New York value of silver is on today's commodity exchange. For instance, this period of time when there's a higher level of inflation or slightly more worry, or there's a lower stock of available silver, certain houses will pay you, certain stores will pay you more than the actual value of silver in the coin. Now, we're not quite there yet, but we are certainly getting close. What that does mean is that if you're trying to go in and buy any silver, don't necessarily expect to walk in, see it's in New York on the exchange for $27.50 and expect to be able to purchase it for $27.50. For the most part, you're going to be looking at some level of premium, which represents the buyers and sellers' profit in this exchange. Now, the highest commission, the highest right now, is going to be on your walking liberty. Now, I have seen premiums on these range anywhere from $2 to $3 in a used loose condition to upwards of $10, depending on where you purchase them and the condition and or the year of them. But for the most part, this is going to be the most common coin that you're going to see in an everyday silver bullion situation. Now, you're going to come across a couple of cool variations like this one here. I figured I'd bust this one out. This is one of the older ones that actually some people have taken the time and effort to enamel them. Well, Very, very cool. Very, very neat. However, as far as raising its value as a silver coin, it truly doesn't do anything. So it might be the sort of thing that's nice for a gift or neat to collect, but not necessarily in something in the bullion world that we would look at very closely or care very much about. All we're going to really look at is the value of the coin in and of itself. So whether it's painted, whether it's enamel, whether it's perfect, it's still in the same range. Now, like I said, the U.S. is not the only country that makes them. You're going to see quite a few other ones. The most popular in the United States are going to be the Canadian maple leaf, which is, of course, named due to the beautiful, beautiful fluted maple leaf on the back, Elizabeth II. Now, this is a $5 coin, according to Canadians. Again, please do not drive to Canada. Take this to a Canadian bank. They will only give you $5 Canadian for it. So, probably a better value than the U.S., but hey, this is one of the prettiest coins you will see. I do love the maple leaf. I think it is gorgeous. But as far as a collectability, as far as a numismatic or a collectible coin, not necessarily. However, because it is a well-made, well-produced, well-regulated coin, it is going to hold a higher premium. Probably not quite as much as your silver eagle, but definitely higher than some of the other coins that we're going to discuss here tonight. Now, if you're walking in and you're looking for something, some state level coin, national made coin, that is very good coin, does not have a super ultra premium, I would suggest you look into something kind of odd and unusual. So, for instance, one of my favorites is the Australian Philharmonic. Now, these are still 1 ounce pure, of pure silver. They are €1.50. However, because these are not as sought after, these are not as collectible, they will be a lower premium, be a more affordable for you to purchase across the counter. So if you're looking for a good way to buy silver and hold and retain silver, but not get hurt real bad by premiums, look into one of the alternatives like this. So on any of these, one of the most important things you can do when buying them is to go ahead and drop them on the scale. The scale is going to be the truest thing. What you're looking for is exactly 1 ounce. If you are paying attention, 1 troy ounce. So everyone says, I always ask everybody, how much is 1 ounce? And they say 28 grams. Nope, you're weighing the wrong thing. Now, 1 troy ounce is 31.1 grams. So one of the truest factors that you're going to do is take any of these coins and drop them on a very good scale. You're going to have a slight level of variation due to tarnish, due to skin levels, due to anything else, but for the most part, you're going to be within 0.1 or 0.2 grams. You're also going to have to make sure that your scale is true and that everything else is perfect. So this scale actually, unfortunately, we just threw up here. I did not take the whole lot of time to balance it out, but these are all genuine, perfect 1 ounce coins. All right. So if you're also looking into saving money on some premiums, one of the other things you can do is instead of purchasing national or state-made coins, you can get private bullion-made coins. Now, these range all the way from Johnson Matthey to Everhart to Silvertown to Amex to Elemental. There are quite a few companies all the way across America that make their own silver that basically refine and then resell to either retailers, and they pick up money in the refining process. Now, what you'll run into are a lot of things like this, where it actually says graduation 1997, and this one here has, unless you graduated in 1997, has absolutely no meaning to any kind of silver bullion collector. This is going to be one of the base levels, one of the easiest entries into collecting or getting silver bullion with absolutely no to very little premium. For the most part, any of these you'll be able to pick up for maybe $1 or slightly over melt. Again, depends on the market. As long as these are made by a reputable company or sold by a reputable buyer, and you can match them to 31.1 grams on your scale, for the most part, these are going to work out great. These are going to be the best way to collect, to purchase to trade, everything else to store. And they do come in not just squares, but rounds. You're going to find all kinds of really cool, just, patterns, pictures, paintings. These are all over the board. You're never really quite sure what's going to be on one of these coins, and trust me, I've seen quite a few of them. The one nice thing about also the private mints is you're going to find different weights. So instead of necessarily having to buy and store these in 1 ounce sections, you can actually find these in 5, 10 ounce. I have seen 25 ounce bars. I have seen 100 ounce bars. I have seen 1 kilogram bars, but those are very few and far between. And I have also heard of, and I know they exist, I just have not physically seen one, a 1,000 ounce bar, right? That's right. That's 77 pounds of pure silver. Those definitely do not have a very high collectability. There are a lot of people who'd like to have one until they try and move it around their house. You essentially need a forklift to move that puppy around. But same sort of thing, drop these on the scale, and you're looking 31.1. This one here is going to be a little off because of the plastic sheeting, but there you go. All right, just thought that was really kind of cool. And like I said, these are a good way to get into silver bullion, get into collecting, get into investing. Because right now, with the inflationary rates, with any kind of uncertainty in the world, remember that that's really what affects silver the most, is any kind of level of manufacturing or any kind of instability will actually cause silver to skyrocket, move absolutely crazy. All right, so that's the base of silver bullion. Now, it's not necessarily the only kind of silver coin that we will see. The second most common that you'll see, especially in America, is going to be currency. So we're going to be looking at U.S. dollars. Now, these dollars were made pre-1935. Anytime between 1923 and 1935, you're going to find that it was actually a peace dollar. Now, these are not 1 ounce pure silver. They're actually 0.77 ounces pure. Now, I know that sounds like a weird number, and you ask me who came up with that. Believe it or not, the U.S. dollar was based on the piece of 8 Spanish real. That's right, the old Johnny Depp Pirates movies involving a piece of 8. All that silver coinage that was moved across the moved across the Pacific was dealt in silver pieces of 8. Now, one of the cool things about that is a lot of people don't realize that there was a cross on the back of that coin, and I wish I had one here to show you. And the reason that was there was to break the coin into 4 different pieces. Now, what that essentially would do is take the $1 or the $1 8 real coin and turn them into 2 real pieces. So if any of you have ever heard of the old shave and a haircut, 2 bits? 2 bits came from the phrase of 2 real. So shave and a haircut actually meant 25 cents. So if you were all wondering where that weird number came from, it's based off of the Spanish real piece of 8. Pre-1923, you're going to see these, which are Morgan dollars. And these are about as far back as we're going to get. There are older Liberty dollars, however. Then you definitely start getting into a more of a coin collector value versus a silver dollar. Now, when going through these, you're still going to have the potential of a very high collectability coin, and you will have to research each coin individually. However, most years and after a while of going through them all, you essentially know which ones are exceedingly common and which ones are not. So, for instance, most of the ones I have here in front of me are 1921 or 1922, which do happen to be the most common years that these coins were produced. So when you run across 1921 or 1922, it is not going to be a rare coin. It might be in fabulous condition. It might be brand new and untouched. But for the most part, any collector's not going to need it and they're not going to want it because they are the most common one. So when you're buying or selling these, remember, don't walk in and expect to get 1 ounce silver prices for them. They are 0.77 ounces of silver. Also, These are not pure silver. These are not a 100% silver coin. Unfortunately, it just wasn't worth it. So for the most part, when we made them, when we produced them, we used 90% silver. That was the same purity as the Spanish real piece of 8, and that's how we kept the continuity in currency all the way through America from our birth to basically 1936 when we stopped producing these coins. But anyhow, very cool. Now, when it comes into the other U.S. coinage, so anything under $1, remember that it is looked at the same way, that we basically look at halves, quarters, dimes in a dollar value. So if you have 2 halves, if you have 4 quarters, if you have 10 dimes, it's the same as one of these. It actually weighs the same on the scale. So for each 10 dimes, we count it as 0.77 ounces of silver. And yes, they are still 90%. Now, since we're asking, no, nickels are not normally silver. There's a slight addendum to that. We'll get to that in just a heartbeat. Now, Americans were not the only ones that made 90% coin. Most other countries in the world have produced at one time or another a silver coin. Now, there are going to be slightly different percentages. They're going to be slightly different weights. So, for instance, Canada, up until 1968, did produce silver coinage. However, theirs was not 90% pure. It was 80% pure. So, remember to take that into account when you're looking at the amount of silver in that coin and you're trying to buy it or sell it. So don't purchase 1 ounce or $1 Canadian coins for the same amount of money as you would US $1 coins, and at the same time, don't expect to get as much for them. Now, there are quite a few other countries to look for. Canadian is probably the second most common silver currency that we see in America. So just remember that unlike America, we stopped making these coins in 64. Canada went up to 1968. So you also need to keep an eye out for a lot of the older French ones. And my favorite, because you can still really find them, is the Filipino Quarters that were made after World War II. Now, I'm not quite sure of the dates off the top of my head, but remember that a lot of those planchettes, a lot of those blank coins were made for the Philippines by the United States government. So they actually are the same base coin that we use, simply printed something different on them. So the amount of silver in them is the same as it was here. So if you can find those old mixed bag of coins and find those old Filipino coins, you can actually pick up a really cool treasure for next to nothing and come home with some really good silver pieces. Now, the one exemption that you're going to find in America that really sets us off, which is very, very odd, is our 40% coins. And yes, for some reason, a couple times in this world, we've done 40% coins. The main and primary one that you're going to see is the Kennedy half dollars between 1965 and 1969. Although we had stopped production of 90% coins on everything else that we made, they were still producing these at 40% silver. So these coins, although are neat, they're a little bit more valuable than your standard 50-cent piece. At today's market, they're anywhere between $2 and $2.50 a piece. But when I was talking about going into the bank and finding 50-cent pieces, silver 50-cent pieces, and going into the convenience stores and finding 50-cent pieces, these are probably going to be the most common thing you can find. But hey, if you can show up and spend $5 on 50-cent pieces and take them and trade them in for $25, that's hard to go wrong with. The one other time that we have made 40% coins was during World War II, and was during the nickel series. Now, the nickel was being primarily used for armor plating in ships and tanks and everything for the war. The one key thing that you'll see on these is you'll see a very dominant mint mark on these. When you see that dominant mint mark from World War II on any of these nickels, that means that that coin is 40% silver. Again, not Doesn't end up being a whole lot more than $1 per nickel, but hey, $1 per nickel, I'll take it. So, just kind of a cool thing. All right, let's move on to the next style or series of coins that you're going to see. Now, these you're going to run into mostly during any kind of sets. And what I mean by sets is any of these mailers that they put through Franklin Mint or other collectible series. And what you'll see is they'll make a coin, but instead of it being 90% or being 100%, they actually make sterling coins. So these here are 92.5% pure. Again, when you're looking at purchasing these or when you're looking at selling these, remember to take that into account for your math. Also, there's one weird side effect on any kind of sterling coins or sterling collectibles that I've seen. They never weigh right. And I don't mean like they don't weigh the same, they weigh the exact same. But they never use grams and they never use ounces. So you can take something like this and it weighs 24 grams. Well, that doesn't make any sense, right, numerically. Most of the time that you're going to be dealing in any kind of sterling collectible, they're going to be using the term grains. So something like this, you're going to have to figure out that this 24 grams, I believe, is actually a 500 grain piece. Don't take that into account and or know the math. The best, most reliable, easiest thing for you to do is to have a scale, have a good, reliable scale, or use a good, reliable scale. Know the weight and know the math, and then you'll know exactly that this is 24 grams divided by 31.1 grams in an ounce times 92.5% pure silver at whatever New York value is today, and that will tell you the value of silver in this coin. Now, I can also tell you that the premium on these are not much higher than actual silver, because for the most part, nobody really looks at these as a collectible. Nobody really looks at these as true bullion. It is just kind of a really sneaky way to kind of get in there and get some silver that nobody knows about, nobody really cares about, but you're still holding one of the world's most precious commodities. One other warning, only because I've seen it before. If you want to get cute and start to buy large amounts, and you want to use a pound scale, that's fine. I've actually seen guys do it. They buy and sell so much silver that they buy and sell by the pound. But remember that there is not 16 troy ounces in a pound. There's only 12 troy ounces in a pound. So if you're throwing them on the scale and multiplying by 16, you're beating yourself out of 4 ounces, or the other guy's, getting beat out of 4 ounces. Either way, please make sure that you go through and correct all that math before you get going. You know what you're starting with. All right. Lastly, I just wanted to kind of go through a couple of weird ones, right? So these here are old casino coins. Now, grew up in a casino town, live in a casino town. And these here are exceedingly common because for years, the casino would give them away. You could win them in slot machines. You could win them in giveaways, whatever it is. And I always have people walk in here with these and say, hey, this is 1 ounce of silver. No, it's not, right? Now, it is 0.999% pure silver. However, if you take one of these and you knock it out of the center, this is actually only 0.6 ounces of pure silver. So whenever you're looking at one of these and somebody says, hey, this is 1 ounce of silver, no, it's not. Now, it is pure silver. It is something cool. It is something collectible, but don't make a mistake on the math. And finally, this is the other one that they came out with. And again, it is 999 fine silver, but only the outside ring. That for some reason they have decided that on one of them the inside should be silver, and on the other one the outside should be silver. And again, you're only looking at about 0.6 ounces versus the entire coin. So they're going to come in and say this is a 1 ounce of silver. Unfortunately, it's not. It is strictly a 0.6 ounce pure gold ring around the outside. So one of the things that you really need to do when you get into the silver world is sit down, do some research, and mainly figure out the math and the formulas. If you need any help, you can always contact us. I'm more than willing to help and try and walk you through what we know, what I know, what I've learned. One caveat at the end, of course, it's always good to have a caveat at the end, is I am not licensed by any coin or bullion company. This is all strictly from buying and selling coin, silver, and everything else over the last 20 years. And that this is strictly, we're looking at value of silver. We're not looking at any sort of collectability. We're not talking about rare coins. Trust me, I have seen a lot of those as well. This is simply for somebody who wants to get into the market or who wants to sell their market of silver. There are a couple of places I want to send you real quick. One of the coolest, one of the easiest is going to be Coinflation. And they're going to be able to give you an actual breakdown per coin to the dollar of what that coin is worth today. Also, make sure that you keep an eye on what silver's worth in New York on the COMEX, on the Commodities Exchange, and that's going to be at kitco.com. Either one of those is going to be your best friend if you're going to be buying and selling any kind of coins like this. And remember that have patience with anybody who's buying or selling your coins, because the markup and the margins on these, believe it or not, is very, very slim. For the most part, you can be doing massive deals on this and make very little margin of profit. So if you think they're being completely unreasonable, that might be, but shop around, because trust me, the money that's involved in this, you have to be big dogs on the block in order to make any kind of real serious money. If not, it's a very, very hard thing to do. All right. Well, once again, I had a great time. I truly hope you had a great time, and I really hope you enjoy this series. If you do, please jump over to YouTube, get on there, subscribe, like us, because we really need to jump the station up. I know we've had a couple weeks off, and we really want to keep adding to this and going to it. We really do care about you, and that's why we're doing these tutorials absolutely free. It's strictly for you to enjoy, to have fun with, and to learn, to pass some of our knowledge on to yours. And anyhow, I think I had a blast. It was great to kind of have a laid-back, mellowed-out kind of day. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us, and until next time, see you then.
Everlasting and true, it's all because of you. That smile sure looks good on you. That smile sure looks good.